Hey everyone, welcome to another installment of azxp Garage. Today we're looking at the 2007 Yamaha Raptor that we broke at Munns Park last weekend. So take a look, this is what's going on. So here's the situation. This thing's jacked up and is rubbing really hard. At first I thought it was the chain rubbing on the guard, which it is, but look at this. That doesn't look right. I don't think that whole bearing is supposed to be moving. I don't know what is exactly broken in there. Hopefully it's not the case. It doesn't look good, but we're gonna tear it down and see what's going on. So if you want to see how to tear down a rear end on a 700 Yamaha Raptor, then stay tuned. Okay, we're going to start by pulling the wheels off. Now the other side. Next we need to remove these bolts. These little Allen bolts that hold this nut on. Imagine it's some sort of locking nut, but there's one on each side. Okay, there's one. Just set these with the, I'm gonna set these with the lug nuts. They're so tiny. Okay. And let's get the second one. Man, can you hear that rain out there? That's our summer monsoons. It's really coming down. Alright, so unfortunately this nut is a size 46 millimeter and I do not have one, so I'm going to run to the tool store and see if I can find one or something else. So I will be right back. Okay, what I end up doing is using a pry bar and shoving it in between the brake rotor and using a pipe wrench, and it's supposed to be torqued at, like, I thought it said 146 foot-pounds, but I'll make sure to let you know by the end of the video what it actually is. But once I pulled those two bolts out, I just put the pry bar in there and was able to get it loose with the pipe wrench. So that's where we are. Let me get that nut completely off and I'll be right back. Just so you can see it, right here, that's where the bolt that went into the nut held it. So there's no, it doesn't go all the way through, it's just kind of a jam nut. So when this all goes back together, we're going to tighten it down, and we're not going to know what 50 foot-pounds is because I don't have a 46 millimeter socket that's going to go all the way down there. So we're just going to get it really darn tight and then tighten those lock bolts down. And like I said, this was pretty loose. Like, I mean, it wasn't super loose, but it was loose that I didn't struggle at all getting that nut off there. So do what you will, but I've had this bike for 5 years and this is the first time I've taken it apart, and I haven't had any issues other than just this last weekend with this rear axle. So I don't know if it needs to be whatever that torque spec is, as long as it's all tight and locked down. But we'll cross that bridge when we start putting it all back together. Next, we're going to take the brake caliper off, and we're just going to take the whole caliper off of the rear end. So we're going to pull that bolt and that bolt and yank that caliper. Okay, we got the brake caliper off. I put the bolts right back in the holes just to keep them from losing them. And next we're going to take these 4 pinch bolts off. Oh, actually I think we're just going to loosen them for now. I don't want to completely remove them, but I'm going to loosen them up. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, next we want to loosen the chain. And how we do that is we loosen up these 4 pinch bolts, and there is a certain procedure to do it in the service manual. I don't have it in front of me, but when I tighten it up, I'll show you the procedures of loosening and tightening these. But we're going to loosen these up, and then there's a hole right here that you put a punch in, and then you twist it forward or backwards to loosen or tighten it. And since my bearings are all messed up, it's really hard, so I'm going to put the camera down and see if you can see this. Alright, well, shoot, I can't hold the camera and do this. It's going to take 2 hands, so basically I'm just going to spin this with the pry bar this way, and it's going to loosen the chain, and then I'm going to work the chain off the sprocket. So stay tuned. Okay, here's the deal. I got the chain, I loosened up this eccentric, and I got the chain off, but I bottomed it out so many times that the skid plate is holding the chain up against the sprocket. So normally I don't think you'd have to do this, but in my case I'm gonna have to pull the sprocket, and depending on how much this costs, I'm probably gonna replace the chain and the sprockets, although they're relatively new. Still decide how this goes, but there's a nut right here, a nut right here, a nut right here, and a nut right here. So I'm gonna pull those, yank that sprocket, and then I should be able to get that chain done. And then, according to the manual, I'm gonna take this hub off right here. I'm gonna take the cotter key out, take the nut off, and this is gonna just come right off. I'll just hit that with a mallet. It's splined in there, and that will come off. Since I have the nut off, it says that I can just hammer the axle with a socket to protect the threads, and the axle should come out that way. So that's where we're at. That's what we're working on next. Sorry I can't really do this with you. I need 2 hands, but I'm hoping this video will help you, at least so you can see the procedure. Even though you can't see me beat on the axle, you can see that's what you'll need to do. And feel free to leave any comments or ask any questions if you have any. I hope this video helps you along, and honestly, this is the first time myself that I'm kind of in here, so we're kind of doing this together. But that's where we are right now. I'm going to pull the sprocket off, I'm going to pull the chain off, I'm going to pull this yoke or whatever this is off, nut, washer, tap tap tap, spline, and then beat the axle out, and then I'll be right back. If anything different than that happens, I will come back and show you. So hang on. Alright, as you can see, I got the sprocket off and the chain off. I came back over here, I got the nut off for the end of this, but when I beat on it, it's not coming off. So you can see, I think I'm shaking you. That's why I can't do this with two hands. But you can see that's starting to come. I put a little bit of PB Blaster in there and let it soak. But I'm gonna put a little bit more in there, let it soak for a little bit more. Keep beating on that. And then we'll come back. Look at that sky. Yay, we got it. I just covered it with a little PB Blaster, and now we just beat on it and push it out the other side. I don't think it's gonna come very nicely. Put the nut back on it. Put a little more PB Blaster in the hub right here. Let it soak. Alright, we're gonna let that soak for a while. Okay, that worked. I used this socket, this impact socket right here. It covered up the threads perfectly, and I beat it with a hammer just like this, and it pushed the axle out. And look at this carnage. That's a lot of carnage right there. I'm not quite sure what we have here, but it doesn't look good. So let's pull this out. Alright, it looks like the spacer's definitely wasted. And it looks like this bearing right here is wasted. I'm not even sure what's all wasted here, but I think I might just buy this whole axle. New bearings. And this is what it looks like inside there. That doesn't look good. I think I'm just gonna have to replace all that. So that's where we are right now. I'm gonna go look at the microfiche and see what kind of parts I need. And I will let you know shortly. So there's some blown up bearing in there. That's all bearing parts in there. That's what happened. That does not look good. Alright, it's time to get on the phone and find out what needs to happen. Hey everyone, we're back at the quad now. It's been a couple days. It's been stuff going on. It's actually a heat wave now. It's been like 105 with high humidity. It's been pretty tough. So it's the middle of the night right now. I don't know if you can hear those crickets or not over there. They're pretty loud. Hopefully not too loud. But we're going to continue working on this. We're trying to get this quad done for Labor Day. So here we are, just a quick recap. So this is more for me than you, because this is just seconds for you, but this has actually been almost a week. So without further ado, let's do this. Okay, so what we have here, let's get some light in here. What we have, in case you're not familiar with the Yamaha, is we have this housing right here, and all the bearings in there are wiped out, as you can see. and we got the new part. Right here is the old axle. See if you can get the light here better. So you can see the bearing just really chewed that up, and it tore out the inside of that casing, and it tore out the axle. So I got a new axle right here, brand new one, and I got this brand new casing right here. Oops, sorry about the camera. It's kind of dark, it's hot, I'm by myself, so don't beat me up too bad. So here's the new case. Let's pull it out of the bag so you can see it. Alright, so it's got this is an aftermarket one. It has a Zerk on it. It looks like a little barbell. It has new seals. Man, it's dark, sorry about that. So it's all full of all the bearings and the seals, both sides, and it's gonna go in the place of this. You can see those 3 holes right there. That's how you adjust the rear axle, and this one has those same 3 holes. So we're gonna take that one out, slide that one in there. I think I can't again, sorry, I can't do this and show you, so I just have to explain it to you. I think with these loose pinch bolts here, and we're going to come over this other side here where it's nice and dark, and get some light, and you can see that circlip right there, or snap ring, I guess is a better word for it. The snap ring right here. We're going to pull that snap ring off, and then we're going to tap that out that way. We're going to tap that out that way. And then we're going to put the new one in and put that snap ring. I actually have new snap rings on order. They haven't showed up yet, but running out of time, and I really got to get this thing going. So I think I can reuse that snap ring. I'm going to at least pull it off and look and decide, and then at least get that bearing case in there, and then get that snap ring on there. That'll save so much time, and I'm even contemplating tapping the new axle in it, but I'm missing a circlip there too, and before I install it I might wait until it shows up. But I really want to get as much done as I can because there's a lot of work here and short time to do it in. So I'll be right back. So actually, before I go, I just want to let you know that I can't really film this. And again, if I film this whole thing, this video is going to be like 2 hours long, and I'm going to lose you all if I haven't already. So we're just going to assume this is going to go the way that I said it's going to go. And if anything is different, I'll either come back and show you, or I will explain exactly what the difference was. I do want to show you something real quick also. Let me get the light. I did show you this already, but I want to get a better picture of it. So right here is the casing that I'm replacing, and it comes with a grease fitting, so we're going to grease that up. And I imagine that once you put that in there, you can't access that grease fitting. So I imagine like every maybe other oil change or so, every third oil change, we're going to have to take this all back apart and re-grease that so that that doesn't happen. So I'm going to put you down and replace that, and I'll let you know how that all went. I need to get somebody out here to film while I'm working, but again, this video is going to be really long. So thanks for sticking with me. Be back in a few. Okay, as you can see, I got the snap ring out off of this side, and I'm tapping it through with a hammer and a pry bar, and it's sliding out to this side. You can see that we're already pretty close to having it out. It's still pretty tight in there. I can't just slide that out. So I'm going to keep tapping, but there wasn't anything special or hard. I just kind of tapped it out with a hammer, and that's where we are. Alright, I got it out. Let's see if we can... I know that's still pretty dark, but I got it out. Not too hard. Here's the old one, full of ball bearings and shaved metal. Man, it's still like 105 degrees out here. I'm not sure it's any better doing this at night, but we must keep going. So this piece, let's see if I can get in the light. This piece here has a couple of O-rings that go right there, and an O-ring that goes right there. I know it's hard to see. So, but the kit came with new O-rings right here, so we're going to put those on. We're going to grease it up. We're going to clean out that hole first. Probably emery cloth it, definitely blow it out. And then we're going to grease up the O-rings and slide that back in and put that clip back in it. So stay tuned for that. Okay, it's all cleaned out, ready to go. Used a little bit of emery cloth to clean that out, put some brake clean in there, and sprayed it with air, and it's pretty clean. Ready to go. Show you the other side. There's the other side. Whew. Cool. Okay, so we just greased this up, and let me show you. Grease the Zerk fitting, and then just keep putting grease in it until you can start see it coming out both edges right there. So it just barely came out, and then I used the excess to actually lubricate the seal on both ends. So it's all clean in there, but I just greased it until I started seeing grease, and then when I started seeing grease, I used that grease to wet down that seal, and that's it. It's quite a bit heavier now, but this thing sure feels better than the factory one, to tell you the truth. So now all I got left to do is put the O-rings in the slots. One goes right there, one goes right there, and then two on the end, and then slide it in there. So I'm going to put the O-rings on, I'm going to lube those up with a little bit of grease and slide that in there, and then I'll be back. Okay, I ran into something that's worth mentioning. When you get your case here, you're going to get 4 O-rings. 2 of them are going to be thick ones, but the same size, and one's going to go on this land, and the other one's going to go on this land. But then you have 2 slots on the end, and you have 2 more O-rings. The ones on these lands are square, and these ones are round. And by square I mean the edges, not it's a round O-ring, but the edges are square. These ones are round with round edges. Thing is there's 2 different sizes. One's barely bigger than the other, and it looks like they should both go on those lands. I hope you can see those lands. I think we saw it better over here. So, but that's not the case. The case is the small one goes in the inside land, nothing goes in that outside land, because that's actually where the snap ring goes. And then the bigger one is going to go up against the case right there. So there's one in the middle land. That first land that looks like an O-ring should go there's where your snap ring goes, and then the bigger one goes right there against that side. I hope that makes sense. Took me a minute to figure that out, but it's all greased up, ready to go. We're going to shove it in the hole. In fact, I'm going to try and do it and hold the camera and shine the light. How about that? Alright. If I swear, I'll try and edit it out. Alright. So, it looks like it goes in one way. It's kind of a oval shape. This is how you adjust the chain. You can see that it's not perfectly round. And that's how you adjust the chain. So I'm not going to be able to hold the camera and slide that in there. Plus I want to get a little bit of grease in there to help slide that in, and it's going to be messy, so I'll be right back. Okay, got another tip here. When we were putting this in, I couldn't get it in, and it turns out it's this big O-ring right here that I was telling you about that goes against the backside, the bigger one of the two ends. So I pulled it off and it slipped right in, and then once it's in, then I can put the O-ring on. So luckily I didn't damage the O-ring or anything. So the tip is the two big O-rings, put them on, but don't put the two round little O-rings on until you slide it in there. And then you put them on, and then the O-ring actually fits. The O-ring, the big O-ring, kind of goes in that groove right there, and then the little O-ring just sits in the middle right there, and then this all just goes right there, and that's what holds the brakes on it. So let me get the clip on it, and I'm actually probably going to call it a night since I don't have the clip for the sprocket. But I think we got a lot done here, and it'll be a slam dunk once I get that clip for the drive sprocket or driven sprocket. So just remember, when you're putting this in, grease it till you see the grease, put the two big O-rings on, slide it on, and then put the little O-rings on, and then put this piece on that holds your brake caliper, and then put the clip on it, and your bearings are done. By the way, I will put all the parts that I bought in the description. And so hold on, we're almost there. Hey everyone, it's about a week later and I finally got all my parts to finish up my quad. So I don't know, this is going to be a long video, I think, and I apologize for that, but I hope it's going to be informative and worthwhile and worth your time. So here we are in the garage. There's the quad, and finally it is 100 degrees. It's been 110. So let's get started. I don't remember everything because it's been a week and we've been back and forth and we've been doing a little bit here and there. So let's get the box open and get this thing put together. Hopefully we'll learn something today. Let's get to it. Alright, so I ordered a bunch of O-rings from Rocky Mountain ORV. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but you can get Yamaha parts, factory parts from Rocky Mountain. And I didn't realize that the bearing kit I got came with these O-rings, so I ordered them just in case. So I do have these spare O-rings. So we'll just put those back in the bag and save them for later. So this looks like my circlip. I'm gonna put these back in the bag. Okay, so here's the old one. It's trashed, as you can see right here. So we're not even gonna try and save it. I got a whole new thing. Whole new sprocket holder, I guess you call it. And the new circlip's gonna go here and hold this in. So we have to put this on first. Let me grab some anti-seize. This stuff here is marine anti-seize. It's waterproof. So we're just going to put this right on the splines. Put it right here. Like I said, just to make it so it doesn't freeze on there. And we can take it apart if we want to. So by the way, I'm not sure if I mentioned this earlier or not, but this is my rear axle. And it's gonna go right in that hole right there. So let's put this on. And it looks like oh yeah, so this will go back a little bit. We'll just push that back a little bit, and then we're going to stick the circlip on here. I'm probably going to have to push it down with a couple screwdrivers. And just stretch that out, pop that in, and it looks like we're in. See the snap ring? You see that? Woo! Okay. And then we're gonna tap this back down to its spot. Alright, so you can see that that snap ring is going to hold that on there. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put a little hyperlube right here. These go where those bearings go. So we're just going to put a little bit of hyperlube on here, and then we're going to tap this axle in. Y'all ready for that? So we're just going to put a little bit of hyperlube. Maybe even a little, there's a seal that's going to ride there, a little bit here. So I don't know if you guys noticed this, but we're just going to put a finger full. We don't need it crazy, we don't need a crazy amount. Just enough to let it slide in. And it won't, it'll keep it from sticking together like if it sits. I don't know if you guys notice all these bugs. We don't usually have a lot of bugs here in Arizona. So on the back of this sprocket holder, there's a race that the seal rides on. And I want to get some, I already greased up the seal, but I really want to get about a fingerful of grease on there just so it doesn't tear the seal. It'll mix with that hyperlube just fine. The happy little hyperlube. So now, I kind of want to tap this in. Let's get rid of this old axle. We don't need it anymore for now. And we're going to want to tap this in. And I'm using a 19mm deep socket to do this, and a hammer. Let's move you back a little bit. And we're just going to put this over the threads, and we're going to tap this in nice and easy. I think it's going. It looks like it's going. There it goes. Okay. That went through the first bearing, and now we got to get it through the second bearing. Oh, and second bearing is just going to slide right in. Ooh, look at that. Nice. Nice. Alright, let's put this sprocket on. And this sprocket is really ugly. It's not old, so we're just going to clean it up and put it on. Okay, I want to give you an update. I ran into a little issue. When I was sliding that on, you have to put the chain on at the same time. But I couldn't get the chain on because my skid plate was all bent up really hard into the chain. So I had to take the axle in and out a couple times. And I put a pipe wrench on here like so. And then I grabbed onto my 6-pack rack and I pushed really hard with my foot. I was able to barely bend it. It took me about 4 tries to get it. And so I think what I'm going to end up doing is I'm just going to keep going, putting it together. But then when I get done, I'm probably either going to replace that skid plate or take it off and heat it up and bend it back the way that it should, because it is still rubbing pretty good. I mean, I know the chain's loose, but once I tighten that up, it's still, you can see there's a nice big warp in it. So for this weekend, I may just take it off and run without it. I know it's not terribly smart, but I guess if I know that it's there, I'll be a little bit more careful, but it's better than not going at all. So I got the sprocket on. I got it cleaned up. I used this stuff to clean it up. I'll throw a description. I will throw a link in the description of what that is. It works really good. Let's see how clean and black that is. Actually, I don't know if you can see it, but trust me, it is. So these bolts are loose right now, but they're just tight. They need to be torqued, but I still need to adjust the chain. I need to put my whatever you call it, my spindles on, and I got to put on my brake rotor, and then I need to tighten that up. I got a special little wrench. I'll show you what I did, what I got for it, and then I need to torque everything up. But I'm gonna get things a little more cleaned up, and then come back and we'll put it together the rest of the way. So thanks for sticking with me. Almost done. Sorry about the long video. Okay, here's my new brake hub. Got it from Yamaha. Actually got it from Rocky Mountain ATV. And it is replacing this. See if you can see how messed up that is, where the seals go. So I want to make sure there's no water or dirt getting into these bearings. So you can see that that's all brand new. That's going to go against the seal. It's going to hold the brake. And that's what's next. So we're going to put a little anti-seize in there. We're going to yank the bolts off of the brake rotor and then torque them down. I'll give you the torque specs. I gotta go look them up. Okay, we got the chain side over there on. It's still loose, needs to be torqued, but this side starts with an O-ring. I just got it started here, a little bit of grease on it. We're gonna shove that all the way back behind those splines. And there's a little, you can't see it, but there's a little groove in there where that goes. And then our hub will push it back into place. So the hub, I'm going to change the brake rotor on the hub now. It's 24 foot-pounds, and I'll be right back. Alright, now it's time to put on the brake caliper, hub, and brake caliper. So we're gonna put a little anti-seize of this marine grade anti-seize on the splines. It's probably more than we need, but most of it's gonna come out anyway. So here's the hub. We're just gonna spline that on. Oh, we need a little bit of grease where the seal is gonna ride. We don't want to put that on a dry seal. Actually, the seal is lubed too, so it's not really that big of a deal. But I do like to be consistent. Sorry if I'm shaking. It's just me out here tonight. Okay. So it looks like my brake hub is also, my brake rotor is also hitting my skid plate. So it looks like the skid plate's gonna have to come off. Bummer. So I don't think I'm gonna be able to get that tight without pulling the skid plate. So normally pulling a skid plate isn't part of this job, but I bottomed this thing out too many times. I beat the crap out of this, obviously. So I'm gonna have to pull the skid plate. I'm not really gonna video it because most people aren't gonna have to do it. Maybe I'll do a separate video if there's anything really hard, but I think there's just a couple bolts that hold it on, and I think if you're mechanically inclined enough to do this, then you can pull your skid plate. So I'm gonna yank the skid plate and make life easier. Alright guys, so this has been fun, and I think I'm gonna end the video here. I got the skid plate off. It was super easy. There's only 4 bolts. Can you see those 4 holes there? And actually one of them was busted, so I only had to take 3 bolts off. So I'm gonna probably bend that back into shape and stick it back on later. This is super easy to do. So here we are. I got the brake and the hub on. I lubed it up with the anti-seize, slid it on there. It's just tight. Still needs to be torqued. This washer is kind of convex and concave. I don't know if you can see that, but I'm gonna put the convex or concave. I suppose I should have figured that out, but the outer ring, I guess, is closer than the inner ring. So I'm gonna put the outer ring, which is the closest part, towards the hub. And then this nut, I wanted to say, you torque it on, and it just screws on, and then you torque it to the spec, which I don't have in front of me. But then this hole right here has a little bolt that goes in there. It's a little tiny Allen bolt that goes in there, and once you torque it down, then you screw that and it locks it into place. But there isn't any holes or anything, it just locks against the axle. So that's the only thing. And I bought this tool, it's a size 46, because I have nothing this big in the shop. So I'm going to put that on there, put my torque wrench in there, and torque that puppy down with this big giant crow foot. I will also put a link in the description of that. So all I have left is to put that nut on there. I put some anti-seize on there, put the flange on there, then the wheel goes on, and then there is a washer somewhere here, and then castle nut, and then cotter key. And then I have to actually pull that one off. It's the same thing, it's got the castle nut on it. Pull the castle nut, that'll just slip off. I might have to tap it with a hammer, put it on the other side over there, and nothing's torqued. Then, you know, put the brake caliper back on and torque that back up. Torque the wheel lugs, and that's it. But I know this video is getting super long, and this is really the easy part. Most of you probably already did this. So I want to let you guys know that I will respond to any questions or comments that you leave. If I missed something or something wasn't clear, like I know your time is precious, and it seems like this video is going to be a long time, and it has actually taken me a week to get this far. So I don't remember what I said before, and so I may have missed something or something wasn't clear. So feel free to ask me, guys. Let me know if you have any questions, and if it's straightforward, if you like it, give me a thumbs up. It helps the channel. So I really like doing this garage series stuff. I can't wait till the weather gets a little better. But I do remember there's one thing I told you earlier, that these pinch bolts right here that hold that bearing assembly, there's a certain way they come off, and there's a certain way to loosen them, a certain way to tighten them. You loosen them, this number 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you just tighten them the exact opposite that I just showed you. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Tighten it back up to the torque specs. I have a factory service manual, so I will put down all the torque specs in the description for the rear end as it is in the manual. So rather than have you watch me torque all this stuff and put this on, I think we've done the hard part. I think everything is done. So I hope you enjoyed this. Like I said, if you have any questions, let me know, and I'll be happy to answer your questions or answer your comments. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Hopefully we'll see you out there.